Blessed evening, everyone. Welcome to the return of Hobbit Kitchen Friday Night Treats. Now, tonight's treat took a little bit of prep work, so I did do some of it ahead of time, but that's only because it needed to chill for a while in the fridge. So, we're going to be making nice, refreshing chocolate-dipped bonbons with 3 different flavor toppings. So I'm going to get the centers out of the fridge because I did make the center mix earlier, just so that it could chill and be all set up for us. This is just a very simple cream cheese and powdered sugar mix, very easy, and I used vanilla, but you can use almond extract, you can use mint if you want to make like a chocolate mint bonbon. You pretty much use any flavoring you like. Lemon works really well. Anyway, first thing I'm going to do, put this bowl down here. And I'm going to get a cookie sheet, which I've had chilling in the freezer, because once we scoop all of these and roll them into balls, they need to chill in the freezer while we melt some chocolate. Let me toss this plastic wrap. All right. A very easy and simple solution to make a nice, cool, refreshing treat in the summer. I'm just going to place the cookie sheet here and get a parchment and some gloves. All right, we're going to use a half tablespoon to scoop, but obviously, if you want to make them bigger, if you want to make them smaller, use whatever works for you. Hell, make them the size of baseballs if you want. Doesn't really matter. You can't screw it up. So you're going to want gloves, though, because you really do not want the warmth of your hands melting this stuff in your hands. And honestly, to roll them barehanded is just gross, even if you're eating them just yourself. So I'm just going to scoop a half tablespoon for each one. And then just pop it out of the measuring spoon, roll it up, and place it on the parchment. We're just going to repeat that until the parchment is full, and then it'll go in the freezer, and we'll turn on the chocolate melter. A very simple, easy way to make centers. You can also make them with chocolate, and I can put that recipe down in the description later on at the end of this video. But I thought this would be a good way to bring back Friday night treats, and it's a nice, cool, refreshing summer treat. Because the last thing I want to do is bake a cake right now. It's finally nice and cool in the house, and I kind of want to enjoy that. So I know my arm is blocking, but I've rolled 3 of them so far. I'll bring the camera closer once I get more of them rolled, but right now I'm running solo here. I am my own cameraman. Hubby's busy paying bills, you know, buying a new house, just moving in. It's a lot of work. So we're making do here. Had to junk the gardening shirt from this morning because, as you saw if you watched this morning's garden video, it was way too big. There need to be more companies that make clothing for hobbits. If I had the time or the design skills, maybe I'd start one. But anyway, let's see, please. Well, thank you very much, Babu Vlogs, for liking it. And hi. I don't know what this other thing is here that looks like spam asking me to support some government I've never heard of, but I voted for President Trump, and I support the United States government. So, anyway, in case you're new here, I am the Hobbit Chef. This is the Hobbit Kitchen, and if you don't know anything about me, I am just a traditional wife, mother, grandmother, and I call myself the Hobbit Chef, and this the Hobbit Kitchen because I am only 5 feet tall, and that is not a normal height for an adult woman. I've met quite a few people this height, but you know. So just still rolling away. These look so good. I have to be honest, when I made the filling earlier, I cleaned the mixer blade when I was done. Just keep rolling till you run out of filling. Some of these are slightly larger. Oh well, that's okay. They're going to be delicious no matter what. I hope everybody's having a good night so far. We actually, finally, after a couple weeks of living here, I saw the bear once yesterday while I was out trying to save a bird that crashed into the window. But then today, one of our black bears actually walked by our basement slider door and then walked in front of the house and stopped and stood right next to the supposed animal deterrents. So if you buy any of the ones with the flashing lights and the high-pitched sound that's supposed to scare off a bear or a large animal, I can attest to the fact that they lie. They don't work. Thankfully, I'm also a registered gun owner, so in case of emergency, I will fire a warning shot into the air into the hopes that it scares the bear away. But we'll see in the future if that becomes necessary, whether or not that works as a deterrent. I certainly hope it does. Anyway, if you're just joining me, these are going to be bonbons, and we're going to do 3 different flavors on top once they're dipped in chocolate. It's just a very simple filling recipe of cream cheese, powdered sugar, and I used vanilla, but you can use any flavoring you want. And once I'm done rolling them, this whole sheet pan, which I did have chilling in the freezer already, is going to go back in the freezer for about 15 minutes or so while we melt the chocolate to dip them. Just to make sure that they're stable enough that they don't dissolve when we dip them, because you don't want that. It will create a mess and seize up your chocolate, and then you're just going to have melted bonbon instead of something delicious with a hard candy shell. Hi, James Stansel. How you doing tonight? Basically, I love food and I love cooking. So this is one of my favorite things to do. Just be in the kitchen. Almost everything I do is from scratch, which I know these days seems absolutely ridiculous because it really is unnecessary, but I prefer it for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't like to consume any more artificial chemicals than I have to. And number 2, I'm a walking allergy. And if I make it myself, I know exactly what's in it. And I feel like that's important because way too many companies don't represent fully what their ingredients are, or they just flat out lie. But we're almost done with this sheet pan here. So I'm going to toss it in the freezer in a moment, and then we'll go over to the chocolate melter and get that going. All right. Let's peel these gloves off, and I'll give you a closer look at the pan. Just switch the camera. Look at my ceiling for a minute. There's a closer look at the pan. Now I'm going to toss this into the freezer, and then we'll start to melt the chocolate. So I'm going to move you over to chocolate counter for a moment. Slide that in. All right, so for the chocolate coating for the bonbons, I'm going to take what is my favorite and tiniest appliance I own. This little Wilton chocolate melter was about $15 or $18 last year at Walmart, and it's literally the cheapest, smallest appliance I own, but I love it. It works like an absolute dream. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. I almost dropped the tripod. That's the problem with being your own cameraman sometimes. So I'm going to stretch across the counter because my arms are too short and plug this in. There we go. All right. Now, I have some milk chocolate wafers that I'm going to put in here, and then I'll just turn the machine on and let it melt while we wait for the bonbons to set up in the freezer. While I'm waiting for that, if anyone has any questions about the Hobbit kitchen or the Shire garden, feel free to throw them down. Basically, is what it is. How it's labeled is what my channel is all about. Food, growing your own food, a little bit of comedy in between, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Let me throw this out. I hate leaving clutter on the counter, especially right now. My counter space is very limited. I'm going to grab another cookie sheet and another parchment so that I can roll up the rest of the filling mix for the bonbons. Just because I want to get them all made at once, so I don't mind the noise if a pan crashes. All right. So, back over at the filling, and I can get the angle right. There we go. All right, I'm just going to get another set of gloves, and then I'll roll up the rest of the bonbon filling. And in case you're wondering what the jingling is, just my necklaces. All right, got another set of gloves because I stupidly peeled off the other ones. It was the only way to open the cabinet. I didn't want all of this delicious cream cheese bonbon filling all over my cabinets. But we've got the chocolate on the melter right now if you're just joining me, and I've got one full pan of the bonbon centers in the freezer setting up. So I'm just going to roll up what remains here, which is less than half a pan worth. This was 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese and about 2 cups of powdered sugar, and then the flavoring of your choice. So, if anyone has any thoughts or suggestions on what they'd like to see made in the Hobbit kitchen next, feel free to let me know. As of right now, tomorrow's Hobbit Kitchen Live will be me butchering a pork shoulder because I'm going to be making some Portuguese caçoela, and I need to marinate the meat overnight, but first I have to butcher it tomorrow. So I'll be butchering the pork shoulder live at some point before noon. I'll do a post in the morning once I'm awake, giving an idea of when I'll start that. And then once the pork shoulder is butchered, because it has a bone, I'm going to sear off what's left of the meat on the bone and then boil it down to make stock to package up into cubes and flash freeze for soups for the winter. Because I like to utilize my deep freezer and have it stocked up so that once the cold weather comes, especially out here in the Berkshires, that if we get snowed in, I don't have to worry about whether or not we have groceries. All right, last scoop of the filling. You know, I usually count, but right now I have no idea how many are on the pan in the freezer, but I was able to get 7 more out of the last of the filling. So I'm going to try to find room for these 7 in my freezer for now, but if not, I'll just stick them in the fridge till the other one comes out of the freezer. What are you saying over there? 7. Yeah, you and your 7. My husband in his office making Seinfeld jokes right now. Yeah, do you want to get me sued? Let's see if I can fit this in here. Yeah, that's not going to happen in the freezer. So I'm going to stick this in the fridge for now. which is also barely going to happen, but I do have some room on my bottom shelf, thankfully. So just throw that there for now. Let's go see how the chocolate is doing. Well, this is a really shitty angle. All right, yeah, I'll just turn the camera around. Hold on. Okay, looks like I've still got quite a ways to go here. I'll grab my tiny silicone spatula and give it a stir, though. It's starting to melt. I haven't used this in a while. It was one of those things I unpacked and then just stuck on a top shelf in a cabinet until I was ready to get around to it. But yeah, it's starting to do its thing. Yum. These are going to be so delicious. If you've never made your own bonbons before, super easy and a lot of fun. So while I'm waiting for the chocolate to melt, I'll show you the flavorings that we're going to sprinkle on top after they're dipped. I'm going to use a little sweet lemon finishing sugar on some, a little black currant, and some lavender vanilla. I chose these ones because they're all light summer flavors and they taste really good. I've used them in a few things now. So I hope everybody's having a good night so far, and thank you for tuning in and watching me make delicious Friday treats. I love sharing my cooking with people. One of my favorite things. And now I've run out of shit to say while I'm waiting for stuff, so that kind of sucks. Don't oh no me. You were something to say. Wow. Yeah. Hi, James. My husband, always the comedian. So I'm just stirring the chocolate right now. About halfway melted, thankfully. And now I've got a comedian making faces at me from the other side of the room. Yeah. Doesn't volunteer to be the cameraman, but he'll stand there and make faces. Oh, wow. Yep. Yep, getting video bombed. Ah, brutal. I am so looking forward to these. The chocolate is almost completely melted. Getting pretty close here. So once it finishes melting, I will grab the first pan of bonbon filling out of the freezer and we'll dip them. Small silicone spatulas, very helpful. Absolutely loving this. Way easier than trying to use a full-size spatula for a task like this, because it just doesn't work. Really doesn't. Anyway, I'm just making some room on the counter so that I can get the pan out of the freezer in a moment. So don't mind all of the extra little bits of noise. All right, so you don't need very many tools to do the next step, but if you want to dip them and not make a mess everywhere, you do want a fork, because you don't want to do this with your hands unless you really enjoy being covered in melted chocolate, which, hey, if you do, that's your business. All right, chocolate is nice and melted. Let me see if I can pull this over a little further. Oh, yeah. Cool. All right. So I'm going to get that pan out of the freezer. And I'll see if I can get everything on camera. Let me turn this around. All right, let's try that. Up a little bit. Okay. You should be able to see everything at this angle. I'm going to grab the pan. So I am just going to very quickly dip each one on the fork. And I'm just throwing the other pan with the last 7 into the freezer to set up. And then I'm going to slide them off right back onto the parchment. All right, oh shit. 1 second, I'm forgetting something. Again, this happens a lot, but it is what makes the Hobbit kitchen fun. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. So we're going to take the first bonbon. We're just going to put it on the fork like this. And I'm just going to drop it into the melted chocolate for a moment. Flip it around real quick. And then just give it a little tap just to get all of the extra chocolate off the bottom. And then right back onto the parchment. I'm just going to repeat this with the rest of them. Just want to give them all a light coating of the chocolate. Make sure you don't leave them in too long or you're going to have melted centers and then you're not going to have bonbons. You're just going to have a mess on your hands and nobody really wants that. Why are you saying your mother? Oh, well, yeah, maybe. Ugh. My husband thinks he's funny. He's not. But try to be supportive. These are going to be so good once they're all set up. The most frustrating part, trying to get them all dipped without melting them. And it doesn't always work, so some of them will lose their shape a little bit, but they'll still be fantastic. I'll cheat and use my thumb. Oh, shit. Well, hey, there's an advantage of being live. You get to see me drop a bonbon on the pan and make a mess. Yeah, I feel like I should have froze these a little bit longer, so going to have to move pretty quickly because they are a bit soft. But I don't care. They're going to taste good. All that matters to me. But yeah, I am definitely making one hell of a mess here tonight. Unusual for the Hobbit kitchen. I don't usually make quite this much of a mess, at least not while I'm recording, but I only recently started going live. So I guess that's half the fun. And yeah, I have actually melted some of a truffle into what remains of this chocolate. It's turning into a disaster here. So I think I'm going to end up melting some more chocolate separately and putting these in the freezer for now and then just drizzling them. That might be the easier way to go. But I'll give you a quick look at what I've done so far. All right, so as you can see, I have dipped some of them, but if you notice the last couple have some speckles on them, that's because one of them decided to melt a little bit. So I'm going to throw this in the freezer and let them set up fully, and then I'll drizzle them. But I expected a few bumps in the road, just bringing back Friday treats now. I think maybe next Friday, instead of going live, I will just do the Friday night treats video and then upload it, because clearly this didn't work out too well. But anyway, these are simple bonbon truffles made with a cream cheese filling center, and I can put the recipe down when I'm done. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions. Yep, I even waited too long to sprinkle the tops. All right. Well, this is a total epic fail on presentation and construction, but they're still going to taste good. So, unfortunately, I think that's about all. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for tonight's return of Friday night treats. And I do hope you enjoyed. And when these are finished tomorrow, after they've set up fully in the freezer and I can dip them properly, I'll do a short and put it out so that everybody can see them. Yes, it is candy. I hope you all have a great night, and thanks for watching. The next live will be on Sunday from a food truck festival, and then a small live tomorrow when I'm butchering a pork shoulder. I hope you all have a wonderful evening and be safe.